Another celebrity who was a fraud, and this we've known for a long time, Megan Rapinoe, who was, I should say, I think this is past tense. She's on her way to retirement now. She was the star of the U.S. women's soccer team. She's the one with the pink hair, the one who was behind all the equal pay nonsense and the kneeling during the national anthem. She made U.S. women's soccer political instead of just playing soccer. She is on her way to retirement right now, and there are glowing interviews that are being conducted, these profiles that are being published about her. And this one made me laugh because she was asked about the idea of transgender athletes. Now, if you've watched a men's soccer game and then you watch a women's soccer game, it almost seems like two different sports because soccer is such an inherently physical sport that you see how much bigger and stronger and faster men are compared to women. Now, I like women's soccer. I not only enjoy playing it, I enjoy watching it. I don't mean this with any disrespect to women's soccer, but it's very, very different because the physiology, the biology of male and female are maybe of all the sports most obvious in a soccer game. So Megan Rapinoe is on her way to retirement. She's asked about transgender athletes, which should be a pretty big threat to women's soccer. And this is what she responds. She says, I think people also need to understand that sports is not the most important thing in life, right? Life is the most important thing in life. And so much of this trans inclusion argument has been put through the extremely tiny lens of elite sports. Like, that is not the way we need to be framing this question. We're talking about kids. We're talking about people's lives, she says. We're talking about the entire state government coming down on one child in some states, 3 children in some states. They're committing suicide because they're being told they're gross and different and evil and sinful and they can't play sports with their friends that they grew up with, not to mention trying to take away healthcare. I think it's monstrous. Now, it's almost impossible for me not to debunk her and fact check her here. So please indulge me for a moment. Not to mention trying to take away healthcare. What a euphemism. What is Megan Rapinoe talking about there? She's talking about not allowing children to take cross-sex hormones, puberty-blocking hormones that chemically castrate little boys that irreversibly harm the development of a young woman's, a little girl's fertility. This is what she's talking about, healthcare. Maybe some states that are saying, well, you can't actually perform a bodily mutilating surgery to trans a child until they're over 18. A parent cannot allow their child to do that. It's against the law. That's what she's talking about when she says healthcare. So gross way to be euphemistic about this. But that's actually not the point that I'm trying to make. I just can't resist debunking this when it comes to the protection of children. She says this. Rapinoe says, so we need to really kind of take a step back and get a grip on what we're really talking about here because people's lives are at risk. Kids' lives are at risk with the rates of suicide, the rates of depression and negative mental health and drug abuse. We're putting everything through, God forbid, a trans person be successful in sports. Get a grip on reality and take a step back. Okay, so also we know that the suicide rate of children who are trans and not even all the way to surgery, just puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, actually increases by 14% if they have access to these hormones compared to children who don't have access. So let's debunk that. But here's the thing. Megan Rapinoe and the U.S. women's soccer team actually played a full soccer game against a U15, that means boys under 15, team of boys. And this was several years ago, and they lost. These grown women, these professional athletes, these women soccer players lost to just barely teenage boys. And when I saw this, I laughed because I thought, okay, girl, you're on your way to retirement. You are not going to suffer the ramifications of this because you've already had your career. But if you journey back and you implement this, let's allow biological males who just identify as female to play soccer, you wouldn't even have a career. You wouldn't be a professional women's soccer player because you are the best of the best. And a 15-year-old boy is better than you. These celebrities, as we know, are absolute frauds. And it's worse than just being a fraud themselves because what they are pushing for impacts you and your family. It impacts my daughter. I mean, I'm very protective of women's sports because I hope that my daughter follows in my footsteps and plays, soccer or plays basketball or swims on the swim team. And if she's swimming and playing soccer or basketball against biological males, then really, what's the point? She will either be physically harmed or just deprived of opportunities to achieve success because boys are so much bigger and stronger and faster than she is.